Hello and welcome to episode 13 of On the Air with FDT-TV. I was going to say with West Ham United, but I mean that would be that'd be interesting. But on the subject of West Ham United, if you are looking at the video version, you'll be able to see that I've styled my hair with an M, which is for massive, which is exactly what West Ham are. I mean, second biggest club in London now. Only 5 points behind the title leaders at the moment, Chelsea. Mate, it's embarrassing, isn't it? Considering how much of a circus our club is. We're the second biggest in London. What does that mean for the rest of you?
Well, you're only 3 points ahead of us now. So when we play you and we stuff you, yeah, I don't fancy our chances.
I think,
honest, but.
It's not going to happen, mate. Chelsea have got to be the biggest because they've won the most recently. European, so you don't like to, but you've got to give it to them. And then you go West Ham, Brentford, Crystal Palace, Tottenham, Arsenal. Mate, wasn't that long ago wasn't that long ago using a relegation battle? Let me have my moment. Let me have my moment in the sun. It will only last us another season.
It wouldn't bother me, but you put Spurs above us. Granted, they are in the league at the moment, only just, but they've won fuck all.
They're playing European football, mate.
Yeah, true.
Not particularly well.
That European powerhouse.
The Conference League. I mean, well,
clues in the name.
Exactly. But. Positive result for West Ham at the weekend. Positive result for Arsenal at the weekend. So it's all smiles here at FDT-TV. First off, we might as well get into it, mightn't we? Arsenal, you did win.
Yes.
Give us a little bit of give us some. I put my teeth back in my mouth. Give us a little bit of a rundown of the game, Mike.
So going into that game, I've got to be honest, I wasn't very confident. I was looking forward to the game, obviously, yes. But it was one of those games that last year was a bit of a banana skin fixture for us. And seeing the team line up, we see Alex Lacazette back into the starting lineup after a brilliant, I'd say about 20-25 minutes in the game against Crystal Palace. And he, I've got to say, absolutely bossed it. You can see his passion, you can see his work rate. He was absolutely phenomenal. But I think one of the downsides to him within that particular fixture was the fact that he's not match sharp yet. Spent a long time on the sidelines, played a couple of, I believe, the League Cup games. But after about 67 minutes of him running around like an absolute nut job, not like a headless chicken, it was actually a decent effort, had to be substituted. Boss has come out and said there's nothing wrong with him, it's just a lack of match fitness, which is fair enough. But what a game. Absolutely steamrolled Aston Villa for probably about 75-80 minutes. They were a bit of a joke in that game, but I suppose that was compounded by the fact that we were really good. And we must have put in a good performance because Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville both said about how well Arsenal played on the Friday, which I was a little bit astounded at because they've been nothing but slating us all season. But yeah, they both come out and said how great we were and how poor. It was either how poor Aston Villa were or how poor we made them look, which was a nice change. So the game started off with a goal from
Aubameyang?
Who was it? Aubameyang, yes. Then you had Emile Smith-Rowe.
Yes.
Scored, and Aubameyang got the second as well, I believe, with a penalty. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, that is right. So it was a bit of a controversial one. Looking through social media just after the penalty, you see loads of people come out and say, oh, how can he do that? He'd blown for half time. But Sky Sports had even come back on it and said that the referee had only blown his whistle. Everyone thought that was the end of the half, started walking off, and he was like, no, get your butt back here. And we got a penalty. So with a foul on Lacazette in the box, I've got to be honest, I think we were quite fortunate in that decision because we have seen them completely ignored.
Yes.
But at the same time, we have seen them given for less as well. So for me, it was a foul, a bit of a soft foul, but a foul nonetheless.
Yep.
So I'll take it. And yeah, so we come away 3-1 winners. But yeah, I think by the time that Villa had scored, we'd absolutely run ourselves ragged into the ground. You see Aubameyang kind of limping off towards the end as well. He put a good shift in. Emile Smith-Rowe was absolutely fantastic. Saka was back after the after being chopped down against Crystal Palace. But no, it was a brilliant game. Really, really happy with the result. And yeah, we march on to Leicester next.
It's one of those things. I know Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville, as you said, are very, very harsh on Arsenal. But I think that's because they know Arsenal as we do, as say when they were players. They're hard to beat. You're going to get a game. They can absolutely smash you if you don't turn up, and they're always going to finish the right end of the table. And recently, you've been far away from that sort of prime Wenger era, haven't you?
Yep.
So yeah, I think the praise was deserved, and definitely if you continue to play every week like that, you're going to get results, and say the ones that were losses will now be draws, and some of them will definitely be wins, and you will end up the right end of the table. Just can you sustain it? That's always the problem. You get to around Christmas, and that's where you seem to start having your defensive frailties and injuries, and that's where your season has a little bit of a dodgy patch.
I think one, just a kind of caveat though, with the fact that we haven't got any European football this year, I think that could be a bit of a blessing in disguise, as you mentioned. I suppose from Boxing Day to around about the end of January, we do go through a bit of a bumpy patch. So yeah, I'm hoping that this year we'll be able to kind of bump the trend and be able to be competitive throughout the entirety of the season. Obviously, providing people stay fit.
Yeah, which will be good. I think, and yeah, as you said, no European football. It does mean that you've got to be the right end of the table. I don't think you can afford, or Arteta can afford, to have a dodgy patch at Christmas. But what I was going to say, knowing that Arsenal have let some big players go on free contracts, we are edging ever closer to the January transfer window, and you've still got a number of players who are on very short term left on their current contracts. Are you concerned that people are going to be coming in or leaving for free?
I suppose there's always a worry about who you've still got on your books as to who you feel deserve a contract. Now, one of the ones we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, and it's not the first time we've mentioned it, but one player in particular, Alex Lacazette, I think over the last two games, he's shown his ability to be able to change a game. Obviously scored the equaliser against Crystal Palace, and put in such a tremendous shift against Aston Villa. He's one that I've kind of wanted to get more time on the pitch. I get that you have to kind of incorporate every player within the team, but then you look at the likes of Martinelli's missing out at the moment. Who else? And Lacazette is kind of missing out. But I mean, we even saw Odegaard benched for the first time since he signed his new contract with the club. But I just think the Lacazette needs a run of games in the team. I really do. And you never know. He might be at the moment kind of playing for a contract at the moment, because I have heard that there is the potential that he's going to be, or a new contract is going to be offered to him.
Yep.
Over the coming weeks. So personally, I would like to see him stay at the club, because I think he offers something slightly different than Aubameyang. His hold-up play is phenomenal. He can drop a little bit deeper than playing as an out-and-out number 9. Can score goals, was a top goal scorer last season, but it just never seems to get a consistent run in the team. So there are some players, yes, but I think Lacazette is one that we need to keep hold of.
Fair enough. And that moved us quite swiftly on after that, then to big London derby, West Ham Tottenham. The first half a little bit lackluster. We'll admit we had the better of the chances and didn't capitalise. Spurs were painfully bad. I know we beat them obviously with a Lanzini goal last year, but a lovely in swinging cross from the corner from Aaron Cresswell. Antonio, as he said, just flung his leg at it, didn't anticipate it going in, just trying to get something on it, and it absolutely smashed into the bottom corner. And that was that. Job done. 1-0, smash and grab, away we go. I'm not sure it was our best performance. It looked like a tired performance, but it was still enough to get us over the line. That with Manchester City coming on Wednesday, and then we've got Villa away, and then we travel to Europe again, and we've got Liverpool. This is the run of games that I think is imperative to our season. I think a point will keep us in Europe for the first knockout round. You want to think we would beat Villa as well. However, I mean, we'll get into that a bit later. If they turn up, they're a hard team. If they didn't, or if they don't, which they haven't done a number of times this season, then potentially it's an easy game. And then you've got Man City and Liverpool, who are never going to give you an easy game. Even if they put out their second team, they're still gonna be a hard to beat. So this is where I think we will see the problems that you've had over the last few years with injuries. Say we've got some good players, but we have got an aging squad, and it's not got the best of squad depth in it. So hopefully we don't get any injuries, but if we can get a couple of wins out of this, I'll be happy. Harry Kane, he's been scoring in the Conference League and stuff, hasn't he? But they didn't play half their first team in their last Conference League game to save them for the West Ham game. And then to give a performance like that, is it a case that they're not invested in the club anymore? Is it a case they're not really bothered? Is it a case that the manager's not motivating them? Is it a case that their main player wants out and everyone realises that and has sorted down tools a little bit because they know that if they're not letting the big guy go for huge money, their chances of getting out when they want to are slim to none. I don't know which. Could be any.
To be honest, I think there could be a very much a bit of that where they know that the player wants out of the club. Obviously, if he goes in on form, that warrants his 150 million pound price tag. Whereas, obviously, if he plays pretty poorly, it's kind of like a double-edged sword because is someone going to want to go in for a player that's not showing the fight and the passion that he had certainly for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they could be, or by decreasing his value, that may go, oh, do you know what, we just need to cut our losses. It's affecting our season. Arsenal could finish above us for the first time in about 5 or 6 years. So yeah, I would say they kind of have to cut their losses on him. I think it's painfully obvious that he doesn't want to be there, despite his social media communication towards the start of the season when the transfer window shut, and he was like, "Well, yeah, I'm a Spurs player, I'm committed."
Yeah.
No, you're not committed at all. Lip service.
I'm not being funny. The committed players come back from the Euros early, didn't they? They were there. They played in Euros. They wanted to make sure they was in the first team. New manager, new impressions to make. He weren't bothered. And in some senses, I don't blame him. It was from what is understood, a bit of a gentleman's agreement. I'll stay until another season, and if we don't win anything, then I'll be free to leave if a reasonable offer comes in. And you have to say, was it 130 million or whatever it was with all the add-ons? Is more than a reasonable enough offer. And it was sort of poo-pooed. But moving on from that, someone got a bonus point this week in our predictions. And I'm sad to say, having clawed back some points, it was not me. So come on in, give us a rundown of what's what.
Okay, so I'll start off with the predictions from last week, and then we'll get on to the bonus point. So looking at the fixtures, we had Arsenal, Villa, West Ham, Tottenham, and then Man United versus Liverpool.
Yes.
There was a part of me that thought the game against Aston Villa was going to be a lot closer than what it was.
Yep.
But it turned out to be a very comfortable 3-1 win. So you had 2-2, I had 2-1. I did think that we would concede, and we did. So yeah, point for me. 0 points for you. West Ham, Tottenham, you had 3-1, I had 2-2. The score was obviously 1-0. So a point for you for the correct result, but 0 points for me.
Yep.
And then we both had Liverpool as very comfortable winners against Manchester United as a bonus game for this week. Obviously, we know the score 5-0 to Liverpool. So a point each. So that brings us to the weekly totals. Ian, you got 2, I got 2. And the prediction for the bonus point that we made, just to remind people, was that you thought that Ollie was going to get sacked shortly after the game, if not before, and within 24 hours. The 24-hour period has now expired.
Yep.
He's still in his job, as far as we're aware. We haven't heard anything else yet. So, yeah, no points for you, but a bonus point for me. So that takes my weekly totals up to 3. Ooh. So if we look at the season scores, Ian, you are now on 16 points, and I have moved up to 20. So I've reopened the gap. 4 points.
We get you. 2 games a week, 6 points up for grabs every week. Sometimes more. It's doable. It's not all dead and buried. So let's get on to this week's predictions, and then we can go back to that point of he's still in a job. Because I think that's very poignant this week in football, and I think lots of people are baffled. I think it's the only word to describe it now. So what are this week's games to predict?
So on Saturday, Leicester, Arsenal travel to Leicester. We are the 12:30 kickoff. On the Sunday, we have Aston Villa versus West Ham. So I'll give my prediction first. Leicester, I think, is going to be a difficult game. We're playing away again. Our away record hasn't been as good as it was last season, but obviously with the fans being back into the stadiums, that's potentially causing a bit of an issue. But I believe if we run out with the performance that we did against Aston Villa and the last 20 minutes of the game against Crystal Palace, we could come away winners. But again, it's just our away record. I'm just going on the away form, so I'm going to put us down as a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. That's interesting. I think you both had poor starts to the season, and you're both now coming into a little bit of form. I think Leicester are playing much more akin to how they have been, or how they have been over the last couple of seasons, and same with yourselves. You started very, very poorly, but have slowly sort of kindled into this team that looks like there's something about them. It's not quite shining through as strongly as you'd like, I'm sure, as an Arsenal fan, but there's definitely something there.
Mm-hmm.
I think playing at Leicester is going to be a struggle for you. As we said the other day when we met up, I do think that Soyuncu was a one-season wonder. He's not looked the same player. He didn't look good in the Euros. He hasn't looked good at all this season. And I think that's your advantage. But I'm gonna go. Oh, this is a hard one. I want to go 1-0, but I'm gonna go 1-0 Leicester.
Okay.
I wanted to. I was umming and ahhing between that and 2-1 at Leicester, but I'm gonna go 1-0. I'm gonna back Kasper Schmeichel for the clean sheet.
Okay. So that moves us on to Aston Villa versus West Ham.
Yes, it does. As I said, a difficult game in midweek for us, and I think you play Man City, you've got to field a strong team, and then you're playing Aston Villa. If they turn up, then it's going to be another hard game. If they don't, the Villa fans will get on their back, and it makes it sort of easier for us. I do think Villa are a different team without Jack Grealish now. They've recruited well again. Danny Ings coming in, Leon Bailey coming in, but they're not quite hitting the ground running as much as they were last year. I'm gonna go. I'm quietly confident with this. I'm gonna go 3-1 West Ham.
Okay.
I've got a feeling we might concede late on as legs are getting tired, but 3-1.
Okie dokie. To be honest, I'm not too dissimilar to you. Aston Villa are a much changed team, I think, without Jack Grealish, because they're not getting as many fouls. They're not. I don't think they are as creative without Jack Grealish, and we have seen them ship. What was it? 8 goals in the last 3 games. So, I mean, there may be a turning tides, but I just don't see it just yet. So, yeah, I've gone for 2-1 West Ham. Yeah. I think Villa to go 1-0 up, and then to capitulate, and then you take the win.
I'll take it. I mean, at this point, with the run of fixtures we've got, if you offered me a 1-0 win again, I'd take it. Are we predicting, as I called it just before the podcast, the El Sacchio game?
We can do.
As I like to think it. Which, for those of you who are maybe unawares, Tottenham are not in the best of forms and they would like to be higher up in the table. Manchester United are not in the best of forms and would like to be higher up the table. And I think one manager may lose their job depending on the result.
You think that this early for Nuno?
Yeah, I know. Tottenham struggled to get a boss in, but they're playing more negative football than they were under Mourinho. They're easier to beat than they were under Mourinho. I can't imagine Spurs fans are happy. I know they've managed to get some results, but their star player wants out. The team is clearly unmotivated, and they're just playing horrid football.
Well, we when we obviously saw each other last week, we actually watched a bit of the United game, didn't we, against Atalanta?
Yep.
They were 2-0 down at the time that we switched it off. Obviously, they managed to claw it back, but they just haven't been convincing at all.
No.
So I think the honeymoon period over Ronaldo being back into the team is well and truly over. Yeah, what are you going to go for the score on this one?
Here's the thing, right? I can see this being a really boring game. Both clubs are in poor form, but I think Tottenham are more defensively sound than Manchester United are. And as Paul Scholes rightly put it, I don't know if you see the clip of his sort of punditry in the Champions League. It was saying, if you're that poor against Atlanta, you play a big club, a good club, you're going to be 4-0 down at half time. And that's what they were against Liverpool. I think that Harry Kane will get a few goals, or Son will, or I think just that quick. They have got pace about them. So I think Son will come up with a goal, or Lucas Moura, or Harry Kane, something like that. I'm going 2-0 Spurs.
I've gone for something very slightly different. To be honest, not much different, but I've gone for 2-1 United. I think United will go 1-0 up. Everything will smell all rosy. The fans will start cheering, and then Spurs will get 2 past them, because we've seen how poor the United have been recently defensively. Spurs do need to bounce back, and bounce back quickly.
So you're going 2-1 to Spurs.
Yeah, 2-1 Spurs.
Yeah, and at that point, I think they haven't got much choice, have they?
No.
And as you said, the period of Ronaldo being back, that honeymoon period, is very quickly over. Thinking how much joy there was in Manchester. The question is he having a bad influence on players in the dressing room? Because he likes to win. He is a bad loser, and I think if you asked him, he would admit that himself. He doesn't like losing. No one does, but he really doesn't. And the fact that he's played under, he played under Alex Ferguson, who, in my opinion, is the best manager ever. And he's played under. He's played under Zidane. He's played under all these class managers. Now he's playing under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who his previous credits are being relegated with Cardiff, quite decisively, and playing for Mould, who play in a one-team league, or managing Mould, I should say. They didn't play for them, but they're a one-team league, so he won that, but it wasn't anything decisive. They haven't won anything under him, and the whole team seems demotivated since he come back in. Just an observation. But what do in terms of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer getting sacked? We have named it "How is Ole still at the wheel?" We saw Mourinho get sacked in the same fixture when they lost 4-0. They lost 5-0. So arguably, having spent big money on Jadon Sancho, they've brought back in Ronaldo, they've brought in Varane. They've not spent. So, and they've arguably got a better squad on paper than they had under Mourinho. Yet they're further away from Liverpool than they were, 3.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bit I don't understand. How he's still driving it. They look clueless. Now, if I give you some results, we'll go right the way back. So they lost to Young Boys, didn't they?
Yep.
So the last decisive win was against Newcastle on the 11th of September. After that, they lost to Young Boys. They just about beat us when Mark Noble got a penalty saved.
Yep.
They then lost to us a few days later. They lost to Aston Villa. They beat Villarreal with Ronaldo rescuing it sort of very, very late. They drew to Everton, who are arguably poor this year. They're not as good as they would be, and they're sort of half team. Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin have been out for a long time. They then lost to Leicester 4-2 quite decisively. They then got rescued by Ronaldo again with a late winner against Atlanta, and they then got smashed against Liverpool with Paul Pogba getting a red card. If they lose to Tottenham, their next games are Atlanta again, then Manchester City, and then Watford. Then you got Chelsea, Arsenal. Do you know what I mean?
I hope he stays the manager, because I reckon we'll smash him.
Here's the thing though. I think every other club in the league are hoping he stays because they are tactically inept. The pundits have said it, the fans have said it. He looks clueless. He's got a knockoff Phil Neville giving him advice, and Michael Carrick, and it's a bit like I feel sorry for them because I think they may be giving him ideas and he's not listening, or maybe he's listening and they're just really bad at their jobs. But if he loses to Tottenham, and then they go and play Manchester City, I think Manchester City potentially could get double figures.
I think you may be slightly optimistic on that one. I think they'll lose against City, but I think that will be the game. Excuse me.
You think that might be the make or break?
I think that will be the game that we will see a sacking.
Okay.
If they lose.
See, here's the thing. I was slightly surprised at 4-0 down at half time that he didn't get sacked at half time. They come out and Liverpool took their foot off the gas. In my opinion, I don't think Manchester United raised their game. I think Liverpool knew the game was won and actually we can take it a bit easy. I think if they'd kept playing with the same pressure and intensity that they had done in the first 45, I think that would have been 7 or 8 quite easily. And I just think City will be after it. Guardiola will know that that's the case, and for a team that finished second last year to go out and absolutely tonk them, you've got to take that chance when it comes along. It doesn't come along very often. And then you're beloved by the fans forever, aren't you? That goes down in history. I don't know. I don't know. Conte said he's interested in the job, providing they show a desire to win the Champions League, which essentially means he wants to go out and spend a load of money. Do you take it? I don't know. He would certainly make them more defensively sound. They're more defensively sound. You've got to argue their attack is, on paper, scary. It's quick, and it has one of the world's top goal scorers ever leading the line, with some very talented youngsters coming through. But yeah, I don't know. Manchester United fans need to let us know what they think. Do you want him in? Do you want him out? Do you want him to shake it all about? What's your opinion? What makes you think that if they lose to Tottenham, he'll keep his job?
I suppose it depends on the performance. I mean, if they put out another lackluster performance like they did against Liverpool, then more than likely it's going to be after the Tottenham game. I mean, the thing that makes me think that there's no risk for the Tottenham game, possibly due to a bit of complacency, because Tottenham are also in a bad run of form.
Yes.
Or not a brilliant run of form at the moment. And I think it's just going to be just touching back on what you said a minute ago about how that game's going to be a very boring defensive display. It is going to be like the worst game of chess ever. It's going to be ultra defensive, and one goal will do it, I think.
Yeah.
For either team, one goal will do it. But I think if they put out another drab performance like they did against Liverpool, then he's got every chance of losing his job. But I don't see it. I don't know what it is. Just a gut feeling.
I suppose because I see what you're saying. If they keep him and then get smashed by City, they can say, "Well, we've given him all the opportunity, and he's sort of we're now changing it." If they get rid of him and still then get smashed by Man City,
they can say, "I was a new manager. Well, you need to
give him time." But I do think, yeah, okay, I see. I don't know. Providing he never comes to West Ham, I'll be happy. Do you know what I mean? I mean, at the beginning of the season, we were all talking about Ronaldo being top goal scorer, and I think potentially he still could be, but not with Ollie in charge. I think we have to agree that his days are numbered. To back him to the tune of what I think 500 million, and then being further away than they were when he took over from winning something, is scary.
Mm-hmm.
I know under to Jose they finished second. I know they finished second last year. Van Gaal won stuff, but they didn't like it. I think the one they missed a trick on a little bit was David Moyes. I think he had a very hard team or show to follow. But when you look at what he's done at West Ham and what he did at Everton with very limited budgets, if they'd given him the 5 or 7 years that they wanted to give him, or that his contract was for, and backed him and let him get in his players, they would have been hard to beat. You think we're hard working with, you'd have to say, limited talent. We're not bad, but they're not. West Ham are not filled with world class players, are we? When you look at it on paper compared to the Bayern Munich of this world, the Chelsea of this world,
mm-hmm.
Manchester United would have been full of world-class players that he'd get to work hard. And that's a case for winning. So I think they did miss a trick on him.
You never know, they might get him back.
No, I hope not. I don't think United fans like his style of football, because it was a little bit touch and go at times, wasn't it? Here's the thing. Manchester United fans must be looking around and saying, City have got Pep Guardiola, Liverpool have got Klopp, Chelsea have got Tuchel. They're the three teams to beat, aren't they, really? Let's be honest. And I think they will be for a long time to come, especially if they keep those managers. They've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who hasn't got a track record of winning like the rest of them, hasn't got the experience of managing a huge club like the rest of them, and they're floundering. So that's the bit that I think is getting Manchester United fans, is the fact that arguably in terms of world reputation, they're on a similar level to those three, if not bigger than some of them. Yet when you look at who's in charge, you've got a yes man rather than a world-class manager.
Yep.
And this we brought up last season and the season before. The running of Manchester United is not run by football people, is it? Because the big world-class managers, your Van Gaals and your Mourinho's, both said the team's shit and we want to get these players in. And they wouldn't get the first player, they wouldn't get the second player. They went and got the third player on the list. Because we don't want to overspend. And then they go, well, we can't do much else because we've overspent on bad players, and the managers told us that they were on their list, but they were third. They weren't first. And they didn't like the fact that the managers were making a fuss about it.
Yep.
Brought in Ollie, says yes to everything because he's a club legend. He's happy, and it worked while he was interim. But just the humble opinion of a West Ham fan who knows nothing. That's all I'd say. All I'd say. If you was a Manchester United fan, man, if you was a Manchester United fan, Mike, would you be happy with the appointment of Solskjaer at this point?
No, I wouldn't be. And I know I can speak similarly about the club appointment of Arteta as manager. I got to be honest, I was one of the ones that was quite excited for him. Hearing all the buzz coming out of Manchester City, obviously Pep regarded him quite highly, so it was quite ambitious.
Yes,
for him to take on the job of Arsenal. Obviously, he was a captain of our club, a legend of the club in some people's eyes, namely me. But there was always a risk because that could backfire, and he's kind of made it clear from when he came in that there was always going to be this transitional period where he wants to get his stamp on things, and we have seen certainly over the last few transfer windows a lot of the deadwood coming out of the club. Some of the decisions that they have made on transfers coming in have been questionable, but questionable because I'd say, when I say we, I mean the fan base as a whole are not sure or are unsure of how they would perform.
Yep.
Aaron Ramsdale has been absolutely brilliant. Ben White has certainly been fantastic over the last few games. Tomiyasu has been absolutely fantastic. Lokonga, I'd say there's been moments, but I think he's been pretty good. Nuno Tavares is another player that's a great signing for us. But then you've got the likes of Thomas Partey. I think it's been fantastic. It's the point I'm trying to get at is that when the club makes these sorts of decisions, you're always going to want to go out and get the best manager available.
Yep.
So getting someone like your Thomas Tuchel's and your Jurgen Klopp's is always going to be, I think, a bit far-fetched. So what did they do? They went to Ole, as you mentioned, a legend of the club, and he turned round the form of the club at the particular point. They were going through a horrible period. He come in and got them back to winning ways, and then was very quickly offered a permanent contract. Now, you can't say that Manchester United haven't given him a fair crack of the whip, is the point I'm trying to make here. And the performance, I suppose, on the whole, have been very inconsistent. They can either play some amazing football, score some brilliant goals, or this season just look very drab and average, which is weird considering, as you mentioned, the squad they've got. So no, I wouldn't be happy with him at this precise moment, and I don't think that Manchester United fans would have anything to complain about, because they have given him a fair crack at the whip, and technically has been seen to spend significant sums of money. Therefore, you would expect them to be better than what they are, at least challenging Manchester City again, but they're not.
Well, you would expect them to be at least be solidly in the top 4. Yeah. Maybe not winning a title every year, but at least going a good 3/4 of the way before dropping off, which again would be disappointing. But you could understand. I think have more of an understanding as to why.
Yep.
Do you know what I've got? This might sound silly. I can imagine Manchester United sacking Ollie, Tottenham sacking Santo, and then just swapping job roles. Yeah, it's something as ridiculous as that I could see happening. The question is, what do you need to change the fortune at Manchester United? And if you say Declan Rice, I'm gonna fall out with you.
To be honest, I don't think it is the players that are the issue. I think it's being able to get a tune out of the massive egos that you have at Manchester United. You've got the likes of your Paul Pogba's, you've got your Ronaldo's. There's some massive names at Manchester United that do need a bit of an ego check, I think. And you need someone that's going to be able to put his arm around the ones that are struggling and then beat the living piss out of the ones that have got these massive egos. Do you know what I mean?
In very much a Ferguson era of I'm in charge, you listen to me. I will coach you and nurture you, but you give me the respect and the club the respect it deserves.
Yep.
Here's a question. Could you see Ferguson coming out of retirement for the last half of the season?
Yes.
And if they did, and this is ambitious, I think if they sacked him against Tottenham and Ferguson coming for the City game, United win that game.
Hands down.
And I think they would go on to push. I think they're already too far behind to make a title challenge. But I think they would certainly push all the way and close that gap dramatically. I don't think he would have a full season in him. Obviously, he is getting on now. Would he want to put his reputation on the line? I don't know. But I think you can see he's there every week. And I think you can see him getting more and more disheartened with every single performance.
Seems to be getting redder and redder.
Well, that's what he did on the touchline, wasn't it? That's what he did on the touchline. But you think about it, Ronaldo, allegedly, Ferguson had the phone call to say, come back and play for us. And without a doubt, he left Juventus training without having a deal agreed. I'm going to sign for Manchester United because my boss needs me. And I think he would have arguably one of the better seasons of his career. Just saying, if Edward Wood is listening, if you now do that, I think I deserve credit, or at least a place on the coaching staff for a little while. You know what I mean?
You can take over from Ollie, mate.
Yeah, technical director. I'll take that role. Do you know what I mean? They need something. They need someone who is going to be in charge. And you said it. I think you hit the nail on the head there. The egos. Because let's put it this way: Ronaldo is a luxury player. Bruno Fernandes is a luxury player. Rashford is a luxury player. Martial is a luxury player. Greenwood is a luxury player and Sancho is a luxury player. So is Pogba. And what I mean by a luxury player is, yes, very good going forward, very nice to watch playing football. Are they going to give you 100% effort for 100% of the game, every game, and track back and sprint forward and track back and sprint forward? No, they're not. They're not going to be sprinting back to make sure they win. They will do on occasion, but that's not how they play. They want to go forward. They want to score the goals. And to try and fit 4 or 5 of them into a team every week, that leaves a lot of pressure on the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
But what do we know, Mike? What do we know? What else has happened in the world of football this week?
Steve Bruce.
Steve Bruce, yes, he's gone.
Yes, we're after our conversations on the last podcast. We said that we were given till January because they can't do any worse than what they were doing, and yeah, we've gone. Yes. The next day, I think, because we recorded it on the Tuesday, and he was sacked on the Wednesday.
It was. And the other thing that I have just thought of, the Tinker Man.
Ranieri. Not Ranieri. Yeah.
Ranieri,
no.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
He has taken over. His first week at Watford was questionable at most. But he ran out and absolutely obliterated Everton, which Tony Bellew was really not happy about.
Yes.
But I didn't see that coming, if I'm honest. And although I only give him till Christmas till he's sacked, I think they will get a few good results in the meantime. I don't think they will do what Leicester did. I think that's what everyone hopes at Watford, but I can't see him doing it again. Just saying. But I think that's it for the world of football. Well, certainly the Premier League.
Just before we close off, or if there's other things you want to discuss, I want to go back to my question last week.
Yes. Oh, yes. Sorry, I forgot about this.
Whose career would you rather have? Now you've had some time to think about it. Would you rather have Harry Kane's or Jamie Vardy's?
Without a doubt, no questions. A rank to riches story. I'd have Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, same for me.
I've represented my country. I've scored in every league. I've finished as top goal scorer.
Yes, I believe you did. The year they won the league, I think.
Yes, I've got the record for the most games scored in consecutively in the Premier League. I've won the Premier League. I've won the FA Cup, and I'm known for being absolutely mental and for outrageous shithousery. Harry Kane is known for what? Dribbling. Captain in England.
Bottling it in finals.
And being...
Audi Cup winner. Audi Cup winner.
But no, see, I didn't count that. I have to reassess. Hang on. Still Jamie Vardy.
But I count as DVDs, mate. Come on. Look at the bigger picture.
Mate, I think you could make as many DVDs out of Jamie Vardy's shithousery every season with smashing corner flags and doing
the
eagle. I imagine when they come up against United and he scores, he's going to do an Andros Townsend and definitely go with a swoo. But I think he will do it in his face. And he drinks 96 Red Bulls before every game.
Of 95.
And a
pint of Guinness.
Yeah, I mean, no wonder he's lightning quick. He's got wings. Who would you have?
Jamie Vardy.
Excuse me.
Well, without a shadow of a doubt. Now, one of the things that I wanted to say about this, it was such a brilliant question, and it did spark off a serious debate. Now, I think that TalkSport, when they asked the question, they opened up the phone lines to the wrong people, because lo and behold, the Tottenham fans are phoning up, were saying Harry Kane, the Leicester fans are phoning up saying Jamie Vardy, and they're saying it's not just because I'm a Tottenham fan, or it's not just because I'm a Leicester fan that I'm saying X or Y. Now, as an impartial person, Harry Kane plays for the club which my club supposedly despises or whatever.
Yep.
But all joking aside, all rivalries aside, I don't think you can have, or you could wish for someone's career where you haven't won anything. At the end of the day, they've got such a short career. When they come to retire, and they look back on their footballing career, yes, don't get me wrong, top goal scorer is a fantastic achievement. But top scorer in the Premier League and top scorer in a World Cup, fantastic achievement. I'm not taking that away from Harry Kane.
Yeah.
But you want to look back and say, I've won this, I've won that. Not I come runners up in this competition. Not I made a major final. Because that is an achievement. Don't get me wrong. It is a massive achievement. But nothing says something more than a winner's medal.
Yes. You go down the history book, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I know the runners-up will appear on Wikipedia, but it's never going to be the same. You were part of the team that won the league in 2014, 2015, or whatever, 2014, 2015.
Yeah, especially when they defied all odds. 5,000 to 1, he was in that team.
And it's astonishing. As you mentioned, he's won the league. I'll have to double check the Golden Boot. I'm pretty sure he did win the Golden Boot. He's won the FA Cup. He's won a Community Shield. Even the Community Shield would be a trophy more than what Harry Kane has won. I suppose you could put it on par with the Audi Cup, but at least it's...
no, sorry, I don't think you can. I think the Community Shield has a lot more history. And although it's okay, it's a little bit of a dull game these days, I think that is leagues and bounds above the winning of an Audi Cup, which is selected teams by Tottenham, which they don't win every year.
Hey mate, we did it with the Emirates Cup. But the one of the other caveats to that question, and it was, as I mentioned to you the other day, they threw a kind of curveball into this, and they actually asked, would you rather have either Gary Neville, Jamie Vardy, or Harry Kane? Now, again, for my personal opinion, if it was between those three players, yeah, granted you don't have the same backing as the likes as your Ronaldos, your Jamie Vardy, or whatever, but to have the career that Gary Neville did, I would pick his career hands down.
See,
at the end for my opinion, because I want to look back and say,
I've won everything.
I won this, I won that. Yeah, I
was part of the best in the world. Yeah, I get that. I mean, at those three, I would still pick Jamie Vardy. Through the nothing other than the sort of that rags to riches non-league to Premier League winner. There's not many, if only one of them, that's managed to do that, which is him. I don't want to say that definitively because I may be wrong there. That's the only reason I would pip it. I understand completely what you're saying, and I agree. You need something to look back on, and winners' medals say a lot. But say that rags to riches for me, I don't know, it speaks to my footballing heart.
That's fair.
Which is usually very cold and dark. But that's the years of supporting West Ham for you. Do you think that Harry Kane is going to go down in the history books as a good player, or a good player who never quite made it to great? Because without a shadow of a doubt, the talent is there for him to be a great, if not world-class player and a legend. The club is holding him back from that status, in my opinion. But what do you think?
Okay, this is a hard one for me to discuss, and I will explain why.
Okay.
I think up until recently, you have to class Harry Kane as a world-class striker.
Okay.
Now, I wouldn't say he's the best striker in the world. There's obviously your likes of your your Lewandowskis, and again your Ronaldos and all sorts.
Yep.
So I would say he's, well, up until this season, he has been one of the best strikers in the world. His goal tally can't be sniffed at. It's got to be obviously taken into account, as we mentioned, his Golden Boot winner multiple times, Golden Boot winner at international level as well. So again, I don't think you can you can't take that away from him. However, I don't think you can say he would be a good player that's never made it.
Okay.
I think you have to say he's a great player that didn't reach his maximum potential.
Okay.
Because the club wouldn't.
That's fair. The one thing I would say is you've used the word world class there, and mentioned a few names. Now, I think
all defenders.
No, but I think that you hit it on the now on the head with the Jamie Vardy thing and with the Gary Neville thing. The difference between those names you mentioned, your Messi's, Ronaldo's, Lewandowski's, they've all been there and done it. They've won at club level everything you can win. Maybe not necessarily all in this country. Some of them at international level have won. So to class him in with that, I don't think you can class him as world class. I think his performances have the same level as someone who's world class, but he's not been there because he hasn't won it. I think if he'd won something, you could have said, yes, he is world class. It's just the players around him. But it's a team sport, so you've got to have players around you to help become world class, I think.
Okay, so on the flip side of that, then,
yes,
if he went to Manchester City, this season, and they ended up winning the Premier League, does that make him world class then?
If he continues in the vein of form that he is in now, then I would say no. If he goes back to how he was, which I imagine he would, because he would be motivated, then hands down you'd be able to say, and I think he would prove that he is the most prolific striker in the world currently, which then you have to say is world class. Okay. So I think if he went to Man City and played how he's playing now and got 4 goals this season, but Manchester City still won, you can't attribute his contribution to them winning, because they already look like they're on task for a decent season anyway. If they were having a season Manchester United, so for example, if he went to Manchester United and scored 35 goals for the rest of the season, and they finished first, or they won the Champions League or the FA Cup, you'd then be able to say actually his contribution to that turned their season around because he's world class.
Okay.
I'm not saying I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm not saying he's. Say, I think my definition of good to great was probably wrong. Probably great to world class is probably the category he does need to go in. It's just badly worded on my part.
God damn you!
But I just I can't see him going. He's obviously trying to drive down his price. But the trouble is, once you get to that mentality, I don't think there's been a player that's ever come back from it. I can't think of one that's sort of down tools and wanted to go out and then gone on to be successful after that.
It's a good shout. It's a very good shout.
I think once your head turns and that switches off of to I don't want to win. I want to try and get out. It's then incredibly hard to turn that switch back on. I think once you've lost your competitive streak, you're out. Bit like boxers. Once they're sort of half out the game, they'd never. Muhammad Ali at the end of his career, arguably best boxer of all time. At the end of his career, got wiped the floor with because he weren't really there anymore. He didn't want to be there. He didn't want to win.
Tyson was the same. I watched this thing earlier where he's his last professional fight come out of retirement, blew all his money, and I think about 6 rounds into it was winning, and then just sat down on the floor and was there. I think it went down as a TKO or something like that. And he said, "What are you doing? Why are you fighting?" He said, "Well, I just did this to get the money to pay some bills. I don't want to fight anymore." Fair play.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, both are arguably so best of their time, but once they're out, they're out.
Yeah.
You can't switch it back on, and that is why Messi and Ronaldo are in the positions that they're in. They're both a lot older than players that should be in their prime and doing much better, but they both have that competitive streak and want to win everything all the time, and they've not once in their career turned it off. Might have moved one more than the other, but at every stage they want to win. I want to win everything all the time.
Yep.
I don't want to lose a single game, a single minute, a single pass going astray. I think that's the difference. I think Harry Kane has switched it off, and he's not playing. He's not playing badly, but he's not playing how he has been the last 5 or 6 years. And I think, if I'm honest, that's the end of Harry Kane.
Okay.
I think he might get. Don't get me wrong. He's got the ability to score goals. I think he will have one good season for the rest of his career, and he'll fade away into obscurity.
Cool.
That's my shout.
Yeah. One to watch. One to watch.
Maybe not if me prediction comes right. But yeah, that's all that's happened as far as I'm aware in the world of football this week. It has been the opinions of myself and Mike. You may agree with some, you may not. Let us know in the comment sections on YouTube or get at us on Twitter. We're always up for a conversation. But until next week, I've been Ian.
I've been Mike.
We've been on the air, and we are FDT-TV. We will see you very, very soon.
Thanks very much.